Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Elitist Geek VR news for Friday, September 23rd, 2016. You heard me right. It's Friday.
It is Gaming Friday.
And it is Gaming Friday, bro. Indeed. So let's start with a game. Rigs, Mechanized Combat League. It's a game I've talked about a few times on the channel here. It's a PlayStation VR launch title. Has released a new screenshot showing a massive behemoth of a unit called the Sentinel. And it looks to be a defensive unit. And I gotta admit, I'm really curious with this game. Curious in terms of how it can pull off fast pace. You take a game like Damage Core, it gets very frantic, but I think it works. And I know some don't like the head tracking or head aiming. I don't mind it. I find it works well. And the pacing is just right for that game. So I'm curious how Rigs, because everything I've seen that's been animated, actual video footage of the game, it looks very fast paced, in your face. So definitely curious about that. Now this next story, guys, I've said it before, this isn't a political channel. Could care less what your political affiliation is. What I do care about is whether you like VR or not, because that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. Besides, I'm a Canadian, and yeah, your politicians in other countries are your politicians. They're not mine, right? Now, of course, I'm talking about the story that broke yesterday evening, and was thinking about this one because, of course, it veers directly head-on into VR traffic involving Palmer Luckey. Now, apparently, he has supported a pro-Trump, anti-democratic, quote-unquote, shit-posting group. Yeah, where they, say stuff about the other politician, which kind of sounds like regular politics, because that goes both ways, usually all the time. But again, no judgment on that. What I am here to talk about is the VR. And my take on that aspect is, look, he sold the company. And Facebook is the owner. If Facebook was a company, or as a company did something, that's the point at which I would evaluate it. At this point, I love my Rift. I'm going to continue to love my Rift. And, we'll see where the chips fall with this. We'll see what gets said. But as far as I'm concerned, that shouldn't have anything to do with the VR, right? And I'm still going to like my Rift. Moving on. Just to tie into that is that hasn't quite been the reaction of others. So we've had one company that we know of. They are the developer of Fez, named Polytron. Apparently they have pulled a future Oculus Rift version of their game, Super Hypercube, because of this. Now, what I don't know, what they don't say in the article, was it ever for certain going to be a Rift game? Was it a possibility only? Or was it indeed from day one going to have a Rift port, right? Because if those were the cases, it wouldn't really matter, because they really hadn't planned it anyways. But if it was something that they were going to create, yeah, there could be discussion there. But they're the devs, and it's their right to do that, whether I agree with it or not. I still stand by that. I want to see more VR content. I want to see a lot more VR content. I'm hopeful it's down the pipe these months before the holidays. I hope to be proven right on that. And come December, January, we're all sitting with our HMDs playing some AAA games. Next up, we have Eyefluence. And you got to love these not so original names, but it's a technology that's going to interpret eye movements. And according to CEO Jim Marggraff, and there's a good podcast from Kent By on Road to VR interviewing him, he says what they've attempted to do with Eyefluence is supplement input, right? So instead of taking the place of maybe a controller like an Oculus Touch or a gamepad, it's simply supplemental. So maybe it's blinking your eyes too rapidly, and that has some kind of impact in the gamer experience. Or a twitch or you fall asleep, whatever. That's kind of how I see or interpret it based on that interview. And if that's the case, that sounds pretty cool, because you could do all kinds of cool supplemental stuff with that. You know, pretend lie detector tests in VR, just you could really enhance the experience and the interaction with NPCs, because that so far has been kind of stale and static, with the exception of a few experiences, Gnomes and Goblins being one where that interaction felt so damn good. It was mind-blowing, and I want to see more of that. So if Eyefluence can add and create experiences, you know, akin to that, all over it. Next story, VR First. I've reported these guys as well before. They have expanded their scholastic academic funding and presence in several universities across Europe, one in New York City for North America, and one in South Korea for Asia. Now, they are a wing of Crytek, and they are, you know, at these locations rolling out the Crytek engine for development. So very cool to see Crytek doing that, expanding the ability of people to interact with VR technology, especially at, you know, academic institutions, universities, etc. Now, this next story is one of those typical things that happens to me. Now, you guys know about 4 days ago, anyone who watched the video, I had purchased the gamepad controller, Steel Series, and it was Bluetooth. And I remember when I bought the Gear VR thinking, okay, I can control it on the side. And I recognized I was probably going to have to get a Bluetooth. And my first thought was, why don't they just make this work? Because I had received this when I bought the Oculus Rift, right? So go figure, I buy the Steel Series, and a week later, you know, the last 2 days, they do exactly that. They announce Xbox One controller support for the Gear VR. It's coming in October, initially for Minecraft, but it will enable Bluetooth Xbox Ones, the wireless ones, to work. Go figure, right? Go figure. I guess that means I have 2 controllers, but really the SteelSeries one is good, but I would have been just as happy with the Xbox One. Next story has Sony teaming up with Reality One for new virtual reality content. And Reality One is the same team, when I was just talking about Gnomes and Goblins, that helped with Jon Favreau's Gnomes and Goblins. So I'm already a fan of these guys just based on that short little demo. Can't wait to see what they come up with next. So teaming with Sony, speculation is it might be superhero, action movie, property, something along those lines that they're going to build the VR experience around. But like I said, if it's anything as good as that Gnomes and Goblins demo, sign me up. Then we have a Oculus Touch experience called The Circle that apparently tackles with transgender issues. So this was created by the same students that created the game that I talked about a few days ago, which takes place in 1988's Yosemite National Park during that tragic forest fire. And that game was Into the Black, where you play the spirit guide. So these students have a real knack for kind of just getting into some pretty deep stuff. So whether it's something I'm going to get, I don't know yet. I haven't decided. But if I hear good things about it, I probably will. And now you have from that same group this other experience, The Circle, which, as I said, deals with transgender issues. All right, guys. That's it. Time for me to start enjoying this Friday. As always, cheers, and definitely catch you on the VR flip side.